welcome to the Apprentice Billionaire podcast. I'm Brad Sugars, your host of the podcast, and today we're talking about being an entrepreneur versus being an employee. You know, it's real interesting when people are talking to me about going into business for themselves. So many of them struggle with it because they're scared of it. They suffer from paycheckitis, and you know, paycheckitis is a very real disease, I guess, in that you struggle to go from that month to month or week to week paycheck into, hey, if I start my own business, what's going to happen? There's an uncertainty, a fear around, will I be able to get the money? Will I not be able to get the money? You know, that to me is a big part of what the struggle is. So we're going to spend a few minutes looking at the top reasons why I believe being an employer is better than being an employee, why being an entrepreneur is the thing you want to do. So welcome to the podcast. If you're new, download all the rest of these podcasts, enjoy, share them with your friends, and make sure you let everybody know. So why do people not go into business for themselves? Let's struggle with that one first. Paycheckitis is obviously high on the list. Fear is high on the list. See, people that want to have a job worry about security over freedom. They're always about, well, you know, what if and what this. Freedom is what I go for. And if you're with me, you're on the podcast, I'm sure that freedom is probably more what you're looking for financially than security. And I get the need for security, but what's more secure? One boss with one job with one customer. Basically, your boss is your customer versus having 100 customers like me or tens of thousands of customers like most of my businesses. So therefore, you got a much more freedom and much more security in that way. I guess probably the employee is looking more short-term than long-term because that to them is I guess what's real important, that short-term payoff. Whereas I look at long-term and think if I can work 5 or 10 years of my life and never ever have to work again, build an asset, build a cash flow stream, build a business that works so I don't have to me, that's a much more powerful way of looking at it. I guess the next one is the scarcity versus abundance. You know, we've been brought up in a world where scarcity is what we're taught. Even if you went to school, you probably studied economics in some way, shape, or form. And what does economics teach you? The study of the allocation of scarce resources based upon a simple assumption that scarcity is real. Well, hang on. In 1970, they told us we're going to run out of oil in a few years' time. We still got plenty of oil today. See, technology removes scarcity. And when we look at abundance, that there's plenty to go around, we understand that in business, the more, as one business grows, like for me at Action Coach, my main company that I work in day to day, I look at that business and I say to myself, well, hang on a second. If I help someone grow their business, they add more employees. If I add more employees, then there's more people that are willing to spend money. See, business is the more. As one business grows, every business grows. And I think that's where understanding abundance is, that there's plenty to go around. And that's really a lot of the things that all of my apprentice billionaires, if you're listening to this podcast, you got to get it. There's so much to go around. You got to follow through with this. Now, I guess, you know, taking control of your own life versus the glass ceiling is probably another reason why they don't. You know, absolutely, I get the desire to have the security and the job and that type of thing, but the reality of it is you can only go so far when you've got your own job. You cannot go the top end of town. You just can't do it. So that fear and risk, though, where does that come from? It comes from a lack of knowledge. It really does. You know, if you understand what there is to learn about being in business yourself and you start studying that stuff, of course, all my stuff here at the Apprentice Billionaire is real important. If you haven't read my book, Billionaire in Training, you got to read that book. I mean, that's just the quarter. My latest book, The Wealth Coach, please jump on and read that. It's on Amazon everywhere around the world. Another reason why they don't go into business for themselves. Before I get to all the reasons why, let's examine why not. I think it's easier to just say no. It's easier to just stay. It's that old better the devil you know scenario. So I think a lot of people are happy to just stay where they're at rather than go and do something new. New is scary to some people. To me, new is exciting. You know, I want to do new stuff all the time, but to many, it's not. What's another reason? I call it spousicide. If you got a spouse or a partner or even well-meaning friends and family that talk you out of it, you know, oh, of course you don't want to go into business for yourself. You know, that's scary. It's risky. Listen, don't listen to people who are talking you out of your dreams. If your dreams scare other people, good. Your dreams are supposed to scare you. They're supposed to excite you. In fact, small-minded people get very scared of big dreams. So, you know, don't worry about what other people are saying. Now, if it is your spouse, spouse, of course, you got to bring them along the journey with you, educate them, help them learn what it is that you want to do. Probably the last reason I think people don't go into business themselves is they perceive there's a massive risk. Oh, but businesses fail all the time. You're right. Business people who don't learn, don't understand, and don't study. See, you as an apprentice billionaire, you're studying every day. You're learning every day. You're on this podcast. You're on all my video channels. You're on my Roku, my Amazon, whatever channel you're on, YouTube, you name it. You're learning this stuff with me. And so you're an apprentice billionaire the same as the rest of us, okay? So having a job, what's it stand for? Just over broke. You've heard that statement just before. How come? Because essentially a third of your money goes to paying rent or a mortgage. A third of your money goes to paying taxes. Then you got the car payments. Then you got the credit card payments. And then you got about 10% left over to live on. And that's basically what ends up happening. So if we look at being in business for yourself, I want to illustrate 3 books. First of all, Mind, Billionaire, and Training. If you haven't read it, make sure you do. Second of all, I want you to read the book, The Millionaire Next Door. I know it's not Billionaire Next Door, but it's Millionaire Next Door. An interesting thing Stanley and Danko say in that book is that fully 2/3 of all millionaires have their own business. Now, let me state that again. 2/3 of all millionaires have their own business. So, yeah, there's a very small percentage that got it through inheritance, a small percentage that are superstar, rock star type people. There's a very small percentage, even smaller than those previous ones, that get there by being the CEO of a massive corporation. But the majority, the vast majority. So what's your solution? How are you going to get to being a multi-millionaire? Your own business. It's in the statistics, gang. It just is the way it is. I remember when I first read, I know you've probably read it if you haven't. If you're an apprentice billionaire and you have not read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Sharon Lechter, and Robert Kiyosaki, go read that dang thing. When we look at that book and it sort of says you got to invest, well, what's the best investment there is? Business. Why are all the biggest venture capital companies in the world investing in businesses? Because they know that's where the real money is made. So we go back a little ways. You go back to the agrarian age. How did you make the most money? If you're an apprentice billionaire like me, you know you made the most money in the agrarian age if you owned the most land, okay? In the industrial age, how did you make the most money? Well, you were in steel and production, so you owned the biggest production plant or the biggest manufacturing business. That's how you made the most money in the industrial age. It's why the Japanese won the industrial age. They were the best at making stuff. The Chinese started to win out of that. As we move into the information age, where are you going to make the most money? Information, trading information, selling information, working with information, adding value through information. Why do you think I have a business coaching company? Because I add value to the information. I coach people and therefore make good money out of it. I write books on the subject. Information is where it's at right now. So why do we go into business for ourselves? Next reason, leverage. You do the work once and you get paid long term. You do the work, you get a customer once, they buy from you long term. You build a relationship with someone once, they keep referring business to you long term. You build a reputation once, you get referrals long term. You build a database of customers once, and long term you profit from that. Even learning. Learning is about you learn the information once and you build a great business. See, once you've learned it one time, you can't lose that information. You know how to use it for the rest of the time. Building a business is the exact same thing of leverage. I build a business. It takes me 3, 5, 7, 10 years to get that business to run without me, but then I get paid for it for the rest of my life. I keep making money off it forever and a day. That's the whole point behind it. You see, the economy moves in cycles, and I'll have to do another whole podcast on the cycle of the economy. But as a business person, there's great times in the economy, there's challenging times in the economy, but when it's great, it's amazing, and you make a ton of money. So why else do you want to be in business for yourself? To build wealth, not just cash flow. See, if you got a job, all you got is cash flow, okay? When you own a business, you got cash flow, plus you're building an asset for yourself and your family. You're building a saleable item that you can use later on. Make sure that's it. You got to be in business for yourself if you got massive goals. If you got big goals, you got to have big plans. You can't be an employee if you got massive goals. You just have to go into that business for yourself. What the business is, totally up to you. I can do a whole bunch of podcasts on that, but I just think you need to realize that the bigger the goals you have, the bigger the plans need to be, and therefore business is it. I love business because I get to leave a legacy too. There's probably another reason. I get to leave something behind that is an asset. I created something that does good out there in the world, that helps people, that sells great products or great services out there into the marketplace. I think one of the biggest reasons you want to move from employee to employer or to entrepreneur is you get to move from that whole vice president to president thing. It's great to have status in working for someone else, but when you become the boss, the owner, the person in charge, it's an entirely different feeling. And I think being president of your own organization is very different to being a vice president in someone else's organization. You know, what's that old saying? You can either go and build your own dreams or someone will pay you to build theirs. It's really up to you. I know I've met a lot of people over the years. They've made massive wealth for other people, working for other people, but never built the wealth for themselves. I think that's a really important one. You know, one of the other things I love about being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, and all trainee billionaires have got to love this, is that you get real challenge. You get to find out how good you are. There's none of this, well, you know, I don't get to use all my skills thing. Dang, you get to use every single skill you got. So stay with us on that. Probably the peer group is another reason I love being a business owner. Hanging out with other owners, you get to learn so much, you get to grow so much, and they challenge me more than anyone else could ever challenge me. When I sit with a group of business owners who are achieving amazing things, because they welcome you as a peer, they welcome you to the group type thing, and you get to learn and achieve so many different things. I think probably I'm not sure what number I'm up to. I'm just going off a few notes I made earlier again because I was chatting with some people in Houston about this, and I thought, what a great podcast to make for everybody. I think the fact that I get to be a generalist, I don't have to be a specialist. You know, being one tiny little segment of a business rather than being, you know, I'm the generalist. I get to know about all of it and get to learn and use all of my skills is probably an important one. As I get to some of these other ones, I think that control over my time and my travel and my life is probably an amazing part of being a business owner. You know, business ownership's not for everyone. I think a lot of people get scared by it and they're like, oh, I don't think I ever want to own my own business. But if you're on this trainee billionaire podcast, dang, there's no reason in the world for you not to be in business for yourself. If you've even examined, if you've ever sent anyone a note saying, I think I should be in business myself, don't deny that in yourself. Don't hide from it. Be that person. Be the one that wants to be in business for themselves and be excited about it. You know, don't hold back because of fear. Fear kills more dreams than failure ever will. People doubt they can achieve it, so they don't even go for it. Don't you be one of those people. Don't be that person that does that. So if you are going to go into business for yourself, you got to understand that it's an investment. You don't buy a business, you invest in a business. So you're going to look at the return on investment. It's not about, oh, how much does it cost to buy? That's when you're buying something that doesn't make you money, okay? If you're buying something that makes you money, it's called an investment. So you got to look at the return on investment. See, if you go into investment classifications, businesses, real estate, or shares, and of course on this podcast, we've covered a lot of each of those. If you're looking at it from the perspective of business versus real estate's a great investment. You know, I love it. I've written books on the subject. I think it's brilliant. But it's mainly about the capital gain and the fact that someone pays for 80% of the asset for you. Stocks, love stocks, but you're betting on someone else making you a return. When you put your money into your own business, you're not only getting the cash flow, but you're getting the capital gain as well. Mostly capital gain in the other two, but business is both cash flow and capital gain. That's why I like it as an investment, and it's why venture capital funds across the world spend fortunes investing in businesses, because they get both the cash flow and the capital gain. Now, if we're going to look at investing in business, you got to look at, okay, do I want to go into retail? Do I want to go into manufacture? Do I want to go into the service industries? I pick service. Why? Well, in retail, and again, I hate to say it, but retail is dying slowly, okay? There are great ways to do retail, which on this podcast we've explored. But retail is not the best in my books purely because it's a gradual diet. But also you got to have these massive stores with all of the assets. You got to be open all the time. You got to invest all that money in just the equipment to have your stuff on the shelf. You got to have all of it on the shelf ready for sale at any point in time. Manufacture, again, you got to have that massive warehouse, distribution, all of those types of businesses. I love service. Why? Because in service, you've got a whole massive amount of profitability. Okay. The profitability in service, if you do a basic service business, you can almost run it at a very low cost basis and then a very high margin basis. And that's one of the things I love about business. So keep that one in mind. By the way, remember my top buying rules. Billionaire in Training, I cover a lot of my top buying rules, but just the top 3 rules. Number 1, it's got to have repeat business. If you're going to get into business, repeat business equals profit. Make sure you got a repeat business. Number 2, got to have high growth potential. There's got to be high potential for growth. I love growing industries or growing professions that I want to be a part of. And number 3, got to have high margins. Okay. I want the margin there if I'm going to invest in a business. Look at the return on investment. And one overarching whole thing of this, it's got to be something that you're going to enjoy. Now, I enjoy all businesses because I love the process of business. An Apprentice Billionaire is always looking for any business opportunity. But if you know it's something you're going to enjoy doing. See, I love teaching. I love business coaching. I really enjoy it. That's why I spend too much time in that business compared to all my other businesses. Like my cleaning business, I love my cleaning business, but I don't love cleaning in any way, shape, or form. I enjoy it. But this, I love what I get to do every day. So, Apprentice Billionaires, make sure you keep sharing the podcast. Make sure you let everyone know about what we're doing. Read. Keep coming back for more knowledge. Get into business for yourself. It is the only way to the true freedom of the financial freedom that we know. 2/3 of all millionaires got there. Let's join that rank. Take care, everyone. Enjoy being an Apprentice Billionaire. Billionaire one day is coming up for you.